Hi all, in this video example we're going to be going over the SEO landing pages feature and exactly how to configure this. Within MetaLocator there are various add-ons that you can add to your account, and the SEO landing pages is one of them. If you don't have access to SEO landing pages, you can click upgrade in the upper right. In this video we're not going to cover things that are not related to SEO landing pages like importing data and configuring interfaces aside from the SEO landing page features. So those aspects are covered elsewhere. So we're going to start with what's basically a default interface. So this has some sample data configured in it. It's only got a handful of locations, and I've already deployed that to this website. So this is the parent company's website on fatika.net. So in this example, we're going to show how to transmit the SEO landing pages to this website so that it will have that SEO value. By default, MetaLocator, along with pretty much every other hosted program like this, appears in your source code as just a single line of JavaScript. So let's take a look at what that looks like. It just looks like this. So MetaLocator doesn't really give you anything in terms of SEO value without this plugin. So search engines can't really follow these items, and when they do, they don't necessarily attribute the content they find back to your website. So the SEO plugin solves that problem. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to edit our interface to enable the SEO settings. So if you have the SEO plugin, you'll have a group down here called SEO landing pages. So the first thing I'll do is set that to yes. The next thing I'll do is specify that the URL of our MetaLocator interface is, in this case, it's deployed directly to the home page. So I'll just copy and paste that in here. And then we have to decide where the landing pages will ultimately be stored. I've decided to put them in a folder called Locator. You can see in my FTP view of this website, fatika.net, that I've already created a folder called Locator. If MetaLocator doesn't find this, it will try and make it, but sometimes permission issues can prevent MetaLocator from creating it. So I've already created that empty folder. So going to that URL, there's nothing there at the moment. So I just get kind of a permission forbidden because there's no default document in there. So that's the URL of the SEO landing page. Those are where all our SEO landing pages will ultimately be accessible. So I'm going to skip over these template options for just a moment and continue on to the configuration elements. The first one of importance is the host that we're going to be transferring these to. So, and then of course the username. This is the FTP information, and the password. And then the folder, in this case, is going to be the folder that the FTP user must switch to. So by default, on my FTP server, it's domains, fatika.net, HTML, and then locator. And so yours obviously will differ depending on your hosting company. So, and then I'll leave FTP transfer mode to default. And then since I have images that I've uploaded to MetaLocator, I want to use a CDN in this case to host those images. So I just hit yes there. So in terms of configuration of the server, those are the pieces that are most important. So those paths and elements that we've just discussed are all very important in terms of getting your information transferred to your server and getting it to appear in the right folder. So the next options that we'll talk about is the formatting of the page once it is uploaded to your server. So the idea is that ultimately somebody finding your search results within Google shouldn't really have any different experience than they would if they found that result manually by going through your interface. So that's generally how I like to structure it. So let's look at how that looks right now. So if we go to this web page, fatika.net, and we look at some of these detail pages, you're obviously looking at this stuff within the context of this overall template. So when somebody lands on one of these detail pages, we want it to look just like this so that they can't really tell the difference between this dynamically generated page and the SEO landing page. Of course, if you want differences between those, you're free to create those differences, but in this case, we're going to try and make them look as similar as possible. So we want this navigation header and footer to all come along in our static location landing pages. So I'm going to pick a somewhat simpler page for my location landing page template. I'm just going to jump on one of these smaller content pages, and I'm going to extract the template from this page. There's a million ways to do this, but I find one of the easiest ways to do it is to just view the source of a page, and then I'm going to copy and paste that into my HTML editor over here. And basically, I'm going to take the content out of this page, and I'm going to use that then as my template. So I'll go through, and I can easily, within Dreamweaver, I can highlight these elements and delete them. And that will leave me with basically my a good template that I can use to hold the landing page content. So I'm just going to make a little marker here for myself, a note that shows me basically what is the header, and then what everything below here is the footer. So one of the pieces that you need to add to this template are a few placeholders that are indicated in the interface settings. So there are two for the header, and then one is you need to add to your HTML head. And so within my head tag, I'm just going to go to here and add this little head placeholder. The other one is for the title, the dynamically generated title. I'm going to pull that out, and I'm just going to put in MetaLocator and title. And this will dynamically generate the title of this page. There's a little more tweaking that I need to do to get some of that markup out of this page. So I'm going to take this little canonical link out of here, and other elements, you may need to change these as necessary, but basically tweak your page as needed. And at that point, once you've decided on your header and footer, you basically take the top of this document, which I'll select right now, and cut it out. And then I'll go to my interface settings and paste that in. And then I'll do the same thing with the bottom half of that document, just as so. I'll cut that out. I'll paste it into the footer. And so what that will do is it will basically create my template. So by using the top of the document and the bottom of the document, MetaLocator will insert the location details in the middle of these two pieces. And it'll also dynamically insert the code that's required in the head. It'll also dynamically generate the title tag as needed. So there are a couple other dynamic elements in there, but we're going to skip over those for just a moment. You can refer to the detailed documentation on how to create those. I'm going to leave the item address format exactly the way it is, and I'll just save my settings here. Again, there are a couple other settings in there, but if you look at our SEO documentation, they're all covered there. This video is intended to really kind of cover the basics. So now that our interface is properly configured, we can go over to the SEO landing pages page, and we'll see that we now have an interface listed here. The only interfaces that are listed here are those who have SEO set to yes. So let's kind of watch it happen here. Right now, you can see that there's nothing in this folder. If I click generate here, what that will do is it'll let me know that our landing pages have been queued for creation and upload. Depending on how busy the server is at generating everyone else's landing pages, it may take a few minutes for those to appear. When they're done, it'll appear as a little notification icon here in the upper right. And let's look at our FTP server and see what's happened here. I'm going to refresh this page. It's asking me to reconnect. And notice that that we have a bunch of new static landing pages here. We also have a sitemap XML, and then we have a noscript.html file, and that noscript serves as the index where Google will ultimately find all of these individual landing pages. So if I go to now fatika.net/locator and put in noscript.html, you'll see a list of links that MetaLocator has created. Now this is a relatively plain page, but that's okay because it's set to no index but follow. And what that means is that Google will find this page, but it will not store it in its index. And so this particular page will never be shown as a search result. However, it's set to follow these and index these pages. So these pages will actually be included in Google's index. And so these are your static location landing pages. So these are then, they appear correctly on your site, and they appear with your header and footer as configured in those, as we configured in those options. So those were automatically transferred to our server. You also, or to the server that we're testing with. You also have the option to download the archive directly from the admin interface. And that will give you a zip file with all the pages that the system created, and included a sitemap.xml, which can then be submitted to Google Webmaster Tools, and that will allow Google to index those. You can also link to this noscript.html page. You can link to it direct, like underneath the interface on the homepage, for example, just a small link to our locations, or you can link to it in your footer or somewhere else, and that will help Google follow those links. Additionally, of course, you want to submit that sitemap to Webmaster Tools. So that's basically how the system works. One last option that you might want to consider is when we manually trigger the generation of these pages. And obviously, every time you update your locations, you don't necessarily want to have to manually click generate. So under interfaces, there's an option to automatically generate new location landing pages as necessary. So in our SEO landing pages, if we set automatically update to yes, every night, MetaLocator, about every 12 hours, I should say, will look at which locations and which interfaces have changed. If it finds any changed interfaces or locations, it will automatically generate and transfer new location landing pages to your FTP server. The other thing is, if you don't have FTP information configured, it will simply appear in your notification center that you've got a new archive to download and deal with however you like. So that's basically an overview of the SEO settings within MetaLocator. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the support on the right. Thanks.